Across the world, fewer than 3% of kids with disabilities can read. My guest has helped improve access to education for millions of students with disabilities in nearly 50 countries. Josa is an inclusive education specialist at the U.S. Agency for International Development. He's also a finalist for a Service to America medal. He's joined by his American Sign Language interpreter, Jackie. Josh, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you're a third-generation deaf person, and you've devoted your career to helping kids with a wide range of disabilities. Can you tell me why you wanted to do this type of work?
There's so many different layered reasons to why I've decided to focus in this area. The three big reasons are, like you mentioned, I'm a third-generation deaf person. My grandmother is deaf, and she lives in Hungary. In the 1950s, deaf people were not allowed to drive in Hungary. My grandma fought and fought to get the ability to have a driver's license, and that spread countrywide, and deaf people started to be able to drive. She also did advocate for deaf rights and deaf education. That led to the deaf community worldwide, many different sign languages. It didn't matter how many different nationalities we all were able to communicate to each other. And because of that, sharing that individualized experience of deaf education, because of that, the deaf education worldwide, we notice that there are inequities. People will actively not promote the use of sign language in deaf education and in society. That then led me to want to work in the Peace Corps for Kenya. And there I taught at two different deaf schools, and I saw many of the same things, the inequities. That is why I'm focusing on this right now.
And I wanted to ask you about kind of the opportunities that you had in this country and really compared to what you're seeing overseas with kids with not only deaf, but also other disabilities.
Here in the United States, we're so fortunate to have great education system. We have direct communication access to teachers who are hearing as well as deaf, and they're proficient in sign language. In classes, I was in classes with other students who are CODAs, children of deaf adults, and hearing students, and students who were never exposed to sign language, and we were able to communicate directly through sign language. In other countries, they don't have programs like this. They don't have good teacher training, resources, and most importantly, parents don't believe that their kids are able to go to school and achieve.
Let's talk about the work you did in Morocco for the USAID. What were some of the challenges that kids there with disabilities face?
Working in Morocco was fascinating. Prior to that, the government in Morocco tried to do work in education for children with disabilities, but not much happened. When we went there and we tried to collaborate on a program design, and we saw many children were not in school. About half of disabled children were not in school. We tried to encourage them to come to school. Deaf children, specifically, teachers didn't know sign language. Books, they weren't able to read. Parents didn't understand the importance of using sign language. All of that then culminated into the government of Morocco recognizing the importance of educating children with disabilities overall. They set up an Office of Inclusive Education as well as policies, which is so exciting to see.
You also had to change the mindset of government officials so that they can really believe that kids not only should go to school, but can have a really bright future.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, is mindset change story for you. I was reading notes and signing to an audience of government stakeholders, and sitting next to me, there was somebody from the Ministry of Education. And they asked me, "Did you write this?" They thought the interpreter wrote it for me, and they were speaking on my behalf. And I said, "No, I wrote this information just to show that type of mindset and attitude that we're facing. It's really, the impact just trickles down to everything."
You've worked to implement a concept called universal design for learning. What is that, and how does it work?
UDL is Universal Design for Learning. It is based on the science of how people learn. There are three principles. One, multiple means of engagement. The second, representation. And the third, action and expression. Basically what that is making sure that all children, doesn't matter their background, their needs are met. For example, for representation, we need to make sure that all students are able to receive and understand what information they're being taught, whether that be through reading, braille, signed language, auditorily, just understanding and comprehending that information. UDL is not only for children with disabilities, it's for all children. And the goal is to make sure that every single student and the education system has a minimum standard that is set that students are able to achieve. And they can benefit from education.
Josh, finally, make the case for me that the American taxpayer should be funding education programs overseas when we've got a need right here in the U.S.
Absolutely. We definitely have a need here. We need more support here in the U.S., but also abroad. If we do not support education systems, that means their health, their employment, and their life trajectory and outcome are impacted. Education is the foundation for all of life and making free democratic societies. So if we invest in them, then we'll have better health outcomes, better learning outcomes, and better employment outcomes in total. And in turn, that will then help us also. We have more collaboration.
Josh, I want to thank you so much, not only for being here, but for the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.